Welcome. I'm Dr. Toni of Dr. Toni Coaches. I am the founder of Dr. Toni Coaches, which our goal, our mission is to inspire and enact change, meaningful change that allows you to live a more joyful, productive, and healthy life so that you can enhance your wellness as well as enhance your performance in all areas and aspects of your life. So if we haven't connected before, welcome. I'm glad you're here today. And if we have, welcome back. I appreciate your time and your dedication to connecting. I want to talk today about how to not get stuck or how to not stay stuck even when hard times hit. Now, this is really important because at the time of recording, it is the end of 2020. Actually, it's New Year's Day today as I'm recording this for you. And a lot of people throughout COVID and the political divisiveness that has happened throughout the year have felt stuck and are completely unaware or unsure of how to get unstuck. Many people have experienced challenge and loss and some even trauma. In fact, I'm going to go as far to say that we are collectively experiencing a trauma that is impacting each and every one of us. So how do we not stay stuck even though we're going to and have been impacted by challenges of life? How do we do that? That's a question that many people are asking. So although we need not be the emotional byproduct of our life circumstances, and by that what I mean is the crappy stuff that happens in life doesn't have to dictate all of how we feel all of the time or who we are. Okay? There are very real life circumstances that will continue to rock us emotionally. They're going to emotionally impact us. So, how do we not stay stuck in the muck of the challenge, of the stress, like loss or unemployment or illness or trauma, without seeming either really callous or completely flooded by our emotions? We don't want to do one or the other. We don't want to do this extreme or that extreme. So, what do we do? Well, what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to walk you through a succinct list because I want to be clear and brief. I don't want to lose you. I want you to really tap into what I share here without overthinking it, okay? So here's a succinct list I'm going to walk through with you so that if you are managing challenges, whether it's COVID related or otherwise, you can use this list. You can incorporate every piece of this list so that even if it's hard to turn the light on or see the light at the end of the tunnel right now, you can begin to make shifts without staying stuck in the muck forever or for an extended time. All right. The first one is that you need to feel it. You have to feel the feels. I've said this time and time and time and time and time and time again, and I will continue to do so because it is one that seems so simple, yet so many well-intentioned, incredibly powerful, productive people that really look put together, they struggle with this. They struggle with stopping and feeling the feels. Now, you can't just try to stay positive all of the time. So don't do that. Don't try to stay positive all of the time. You have to allow yourself to feel about the situation however it is that you feel. Allow the emotion that comes up to be felt. Pushing your emotions down all of the time can actually backfire. So if you're telling yourself you have to stay positive, and in spite of actually feeling the feelings like sadness or anger, frustration, whatever the case is for the feeling that you're feeling, you're actually pushing your feelings down rather than allowing yourself to process them. And unprocessed feelings, they grow. They don't disappear. The emotions, and I'm using the word feelings and emotions interchangeably here. There are differences, but I'm not going into that right now. Okay, so emotions do not just disappear when they are repeatedly ignored, pushed down, suppressed, distracted from, avoided. They will grow. And so your emotions can only be processed when you first take the time to allow yourself to acknowledge and feel them. Just as an example, if you're feeling more sad, or more angry because something sad or maddening has transpired, well, then make sure you carve out time in your day to acknowledge that feeling, that sadness, that anger. Don't try to rush through it and don't try to shut it down immediately. If the time that it does come up, the sadness or the anger, if the time that it comes up is just not an opportune time because you're about to do a presentation or you have to meet with a client or you have to do something urgent for work or for your kids or whatever the case is, well, then what I want you to do, what I'll encourage you to do is envision placing it in a container of some sort, in a container that feels good to you, that works for you, to tend to later that day. not to forget about it, not to stow it away, to never be seen ever again, okay? But to just tuck it in that container for now and to acknowledge, I'm feeling this way right now. It deserves my time and attention. I can't give it the time and attention at this moment, so I'm going to tuck it in this container and I'm going to tend to it later today at X time. And identify the time. Otherwise, you're not going to do it. All right? When you do go to tend to it, notice how it feels. Notice how that emotion actually is felt by you. Notice why you might be feeling that way. And without judging it, without judging the emotion or without judging yourself for feeling it, allow yourself to feel it and express it in some way. And perhaps for you, expressing it means to write about it or sing about it or dance about it. Be careful who you talk to, though, about it. Because the goal here isn't to add fuel to the fire by talking to someone who is going to actually make you feel worse. Okay? So you do want to be careful about who you talk to about it and how you talk about it. All right? We don't want to feed the angry monster. We don't want to feed the anxiety. We don't want to feed the sadness. We just want to acknowledge it and allow it to be felt so that it can be validated and processed. All right? Imagine responding to the emotion as if it was an upset baby. You acknowledge the baby, that it's upset. You give it the intentional attention that you think that it needs or requires, that you want to give it because you don't want it to stay upset forever. Okay. And then you offer what's needed to support or to soothe. Okay. So just like you would almost a baby, you could treat your emotions just as a visual to help with that a little bit. You could treat your emotions in that way. All right. Tend to them, acknowledge them, allow yourself some time to feel them, to soothe them, to support them. All right. The next one is find a nugget of hope. Now, I know it can be hard to identify a silver lining, so to speak, in the midst of really hard times. Of course, that's hard. You don't really need to try to find the good, though. If you can, go for it. But you don't necessarily need to find the good in a really challenging or traumatic situation. Instead, you can reach for a sliver of hope, a sliver of hopefulness. I hope that I grow through this. I hope that there is change coming along the bend. I hope, just a sliver of hope. And if you can identify and hold on to that sliver of hope, that is going to help you not stay stuck for too long. Or perhaps you can identify a new opportunity of learning. You've learned something or experienced some kind of perspective shift as a result of this challenge or trauma or loss that you're experiencing. Okay. But it doesn't have to be finding something good in it because sometimes it's really hard to do. Sometimes it's reaching for a sliver of hope or seeing that you've learned something or seen something in a different way as a result. All right, doing this on a regular basis, allowing yourself to kind of reach for that golden nugget, so to speak, it's not only going to change how you feel and keep you from staying stuck forever, but it's going to change your life and your relationships too. Practice it regularly and you'll see what I mean. During COVID, for example, many people have been forced to slow down and reevaluate how they're living their lives and spending their time. And so, although that presented quite the challenge and even trauma for many people, it has, for many people at the same time, other side, same token, allowed for them to reevaluate how they're living their lives and spending their time and therefore get more intentional about how they want to do that moving forward. This perspective shift that they didn't necessarily expect, but are going to benefit from in the long run, despite the pain that's happening now or has happened. So is this sudden change in employment, for example, an opportunity to pursue something that you've been putting off for years or decades? How can you reach for that nugget, that golden nugget of hope? And the next one is avoid comparison. Now, we tend to compare a lot. We are a species that loves to observe and judge, and therefore we compare a lot. The good, the bad, the in between. Okay, now comparing your pain to someone else's is liable to leave you feeling worse. It is. Often. This is not a blanket 100% of the time statement, but often if you find yourself comparing a lot, it's what we call compare and despair. You wind up actually feeling worse over time as opposed to feeling better. And that can actually potentially lead you to denying your own emotions, which we already identified in the first tip is not really helpful for you in the long run. We don't want to deny how you feel. We want to feel it. So rather than spend time or effort comparing your situation, your pain, your trauma, your loss to someone else's, focus your time and energy on what you can actually do something about something that's actually within your control right now in this moment. Perhaps you can't control your cousin, your community, or the politicians, but you can control whether or not you give them all of your time, effort, or energy in this moment right here, right now. Right? When you're dealing with a stressful life challenge, it's really easy to want to try to control things and people around you. And sometimes it can feel like it's actually the only thing that you can do anything about, but that's not true. You might not be able to reverse the outcome that kind of came from the challenging circumstance or situation that you've been navigating, but you can choose right here and right now what matters most to you and what you are going to do about it. What you can do about it, what is within your control to do about it. Focusing on what you can't do, who you can't control, or what's not fair, which is often what comes out of comparison, is actually going to lead to you feeling worse. All right, and the next one is give yourself permission to laugh. Sometimes we can feel guilty for feeling happy or joyful or even hopeful after a really hard time has come. And it's as if we're doing something bad or wrong by feeling good, even though we actually do want to feel better than we have been feeling. So it's like, oh, I'm reaching for this desire. I want to feel better. I don't want to feel so crappy all the time. And then I get this kind of glimmer of feeling better. And now I feel bad that I feel better because there's these other people, the comparison, right? There's these other people that aren't, or that they're still hurting, or I lost this thing or this place or this job or this person, and so I can't, it's too bad. I feel guilty for feeling good, but I want to feel, oh, it just creates this tug of war, right? Can you relate to that? We experience emotions though on a spectrum, and that means that whether the emotion feels good or feels bad, it's not going to be there permanently. And so when we are feeling good, it's a really good idea to kind of monopolize on that experience, to allow ourselves to really lean into and enjoy it, because it's not going to last forever. Emotions do kind of ebb and flow, right? We experience our emotions on a spectrum. So you're not going to have the same emotion forever and always. Although if you keep feeding it, it's more likely to stick around a little bit longer and to be felt a little bit more intensely. Again, whether that's a feel good feeling or a feel bad feeling. But the effects of feeling good, those feel good feelings, they have really positive consequences for our health, well-being, relationships. And so if we're willing to let ourselves laugh a little, smile a little, heck, maybe even dance or sing a little, it can go such a long way. And so giving ourselves permission to do that, to feel that, to experience that, to engage in that is going to help us gain those benefits even more. And that impact, the impact of those benefits, it extends beyond those moments of just feeling good, those few moments or few hours or however long that experience lasts for you. And it seeps into these other parts of our lives, helping us to become more resilient and overall feeling happier in the long run, which is what we all ultimately desire, right? And so while it might not seem like it right now, depending on where you're at in your journey, your challenge, your circumstance, it is often during the most challenging times that a seed for something new or different is planted or watered in some significant way. And so much like nature grows cold, darker, more solemn, and even some dies off in the winter, it blossoms again in the spring. And each season serves an important part in the ongoing evolution of nature's cycle. We each have seasons that we experience in our lives as well. Some seasons are much more dark or challenging than others, but that season need not be the only season that we experience forever. If we allow ourselves to notice the seeds that have been planted or watered during that challenging season, then we are also allowing and welcoming that next season when it's time for it to come. All right? So remember, we talked today about how not to stay stuck even when the hard times have hit. It's okay to feel the feels. In fact, it's necessary. Find a nugget of hope. It doesn't have to necessarily be framed as something good, but it's something that provides a sliver of hope or an opportunity of learning or perspective shifting. And remember to avoid comparison. If you catch yourself in this comparison trap, Call yourself out and begin to shift, and give yourself permission to laugh. Do something funny or engage in something that feels good without beating yourself up for doing it. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you know that you need support diving deeper into any one of these because you are ready to experience better in your life, in your personal life, in your professional life, and in your inner life, then reach out to me, because I have the Reset program, which is an 8-week self-paced coaching program that comes directly to you every single day for 8 weeks, which is incredibly cost effective. And then I also, at the time of recording, am opening up a few spots. It's application only, but I am opening up a few spots for my one-to-one coaching program, The Balance Blueprint. So if you know you're ready to up-level your life, you want to experience more health and happiness, and therefore welcome in more wealth in whatever form that is for you in your life, please reach out. Let me know. I'll put my email below, and I'm so looking forward to connecting with you all. Have an amazing day.